Hi everybody, my name is Phil and welcome to Phil Does 3D. I'm a multimedia and 3D artist and I stream live on Twitch on Mondays and Tuesdays at 5 p.m. Pacific time in the US, which is midday in Australia or 1 a.m. if you're in the UK. Remember though, if you miss the live streams, you can watch the catch-up premiere streams on a Friday and Saturday at 2 p.m. Pacific in the US, which is 9 a.m. in Australia, or 10 p.m. if you're in the UK. Good to see you, Smurfberry Barbecue. I love those emotes. It's always good to see you, Smurfberries. Have a good weekend. And Tamana, thank you for the 19-month sub. You are my longest subscriber, I'm sure of it. You're absolutely awesome. Thank you very much, Tamana, for the 19-month subscription. So I hope you guys and girls, though, had a good weekend. We are going to be working on our new 3D model in 3D Studio Max that we're incorporating some photogrammetry objects with Max models to create a new object. So we're not just taking a straight photogrammetry object, we're incorporating it into a new model. Smurfberry says, now sculpt me like one of your French girls. It's your birthday. That's right, it is your birthday. Happy birthday, Smurfberry Barbecue. Wow. Happy birthday, Smurfberry. And how old are you turning, Smurfberry, or don't you want to say? It's okay if you don't want to say. "3V." So I'm assuming it doesn't matter how old you are anyway, regardless. Like we say, you're only as old as you feel, or the person you feel. But happy birthday, Smurfberry. Are you going to get up to anything interesting on you? Doing anything, or just hanging out at home, chilling for your birthday? I don't actually celebrate my birthdays. I sort of try and ignore them now, but the older you get, the less you want to celebrate. At least that's what I find. So happy birthday, Smurfberry Barbecue. I won't subject you to my singing voice because it is absolutely terrible. But happy birthday nonetheless. Had a wholesome family cooked dinner. Ooh, nice. Sounds very nice. Just sculpting on the plant. Okay, that's that plant you were working on not that long ago. I remember seeing, or last year. I remember seeing the plant. It was looking very cool back then. Good to see you're back at it again. Remember, guys and girls, I'm mainly on Twitch to encourage you to do 3D. It's okay if you want to take a break, though. I understand not everybody is like me that wants to do 3D 24/7. So taking a break is cool. If you're not feeling it, don't do it, because you're going to do bad work. I find when I work into the early hours of the morning, once you reach a certain point, you get tired, and trying to push through that, you just end up creating crap. At least I do anyway. So once I feel that I'm getting too tired to do anything, then I don't do it. And just similarly, if you feel like you don't feel like doing any 3D stuff, then don't do it. If you're not into it, don't do it, because you won't do good work anyway. Mercury says, I was messing with deformers on one of the branches and accidentally made a cool shape. Oh yeah, I've done that too. If I jump into Max and use the some of the transform modifiers here, like twist and bend and all that sort of thing, I find that I can come up with some really cool and interesting shapes that way. So it's a good thing to do, just to play around with your model in Max to see what you can come up with. Particularly an organic model like a tree, you can come up with some really cool stuff. So yes, deformers for the win. So what are we doing? We are going to... We were working on this last week, and I really hate this little piece here at the top. The urn at the top just looks strange. Coming back to it fresh now, I can see just how strange it looks. I'm just going to open up this group, and I'm going to... I'm going to actually ungroup them. We'll group this little one and I'll move it out of the way. You never know, might need it, might use it somewhere else within the terrace. We'll see how we go. Ungroup. There we go. I'm just going to keep it ungrouped while we continue working on the top. So yes, we have to do something with the top of this thingy, pillar, sculpture thingy. Initially I thought putting one of those urns up there might be interesting, but it just looked weird. So we'll just go with a bit more of a classic look, I think. I think that's probably the best way to go. We won't go too outrageous. But we need to top cap off this pillar some way, so let's do that. I think what we'll do first is I'm going to duplicate this piece of geometry. I'm going to scale it up to probably about that should be good. I'm just going to go into edge faces. I want to see how many polys are on that object. Not enough. Okay. Just looking at the quantify mesh to see if that will give me something that I can use. Not really. Let's go into isolation mode so we don't get distracted by the rest of the stuff. Okay, let's try a tessellate. Let's turn down the tension. No, that's still not going to give me what I want. Alright, let's. None of these I don't think are really going to give me what I want. Shame quantify mesh. Oh, it's getting better. We'll use the quantify mesh. That'll give me what I want. I just want to add more geometry to the piece because I want to use a boolean, because booleans are cool. I love using booleans. I want to use a boolean, so I want to have enough geometry for the boolean to work with without creating too many problems. Could even go a little bit smaller actually. Let's see. Let's do that. It's nice heavy geometry there. Well, heavy-ish. Heavier on the top. It's the sides I'm mainly worried about here. So that should work for what we want. I'm just going to collapse the stack. And turn off my edge faces because I don't need to see them now. Alright. Let's do something with this, shall we? Let us go into... Let's create a... Let's try a cylinder. Move it up so it's in the same spot as that piece of geometry. Move it down a little bit. Now, how do I want to design this? I want... Yeah, we'll do this in two pieces, I think. Just going to push that in. Let's see, do I need it to be wider? Maybe a little bit bigger. Let's push the radius out a bit. Maybe that would be good. I'm just trying to decide what sort of Boolean shape I want. I don't know that I really want that sort of shape. Let's rotate it a little bit. Might pull it out a little bit more. If we don't like the result, it's easy for us to change the boolean or remove it anyway. I'm just going to duplicate that piece. You could use an array, but I find it's quicker and easier just for me to eyeball it. Let's try one more. I'm just going to make a copy of these, because once we use it as a boolean, Max will remove it. Let's have a look at what shape we'll get with this if we use it as a boolean. Now Max has quite a few different boolean things here. It's got pro boolean, it's got boolean, it's got things like shape merge and stuff as well. I believe pro boolean is the new one. No, I think that might be the old one. I generally use boolean now. I like the interface here, it's easy to understand. But you could use pro boolean as well. We're going to do a subtraction. That should be good. I'm just going to go through and subtract these pieces from the mesh. Okay, let's just collapse that stack. And let's copy these to the other side and just do a mirror so that they're facing in the right direction. And let's do the same thing again. I could have added these all together, attached them all together and used that as one Boolean operation. But I generally find with the Boolean, the simpler you keep the subtraction, addition, intersection, the better the result. So me doing it just gradually one by one, I find gives a better result than attaching them all together and trying to do it all at once. Okay, now the sides. I'm just going to have to add one or two because this is a little bit longer at the front than the side. I think probably just needs one more. Just push it in a little bit. so our spacing is the same between them all. Make a copy. I want to make sure I don't go past that curved edge as well. Okay, back to our Boolean. I'm just going to undo that. And I'm just going to move them down a little bit more. Better? Yep. So I'm just gonna move them down a little bit more. That should be good. Okay, and the last one around the back. Mirror them so they're facing in the right direction. Smoker says Maya's Boolean system is the butts. 3D Studio 3DS has the tasty stack. 3D Code has voxels. Cool. Again, I haven't used Maya. I'm surprised that the Boolean system in Maya isn't good, considering Autodesk bought Maya up a long time ago. I thought they would have incorporated better Boolean. Max's Booleans have always been pretty good. Okay. And I haven't used 3D Coat, but I have heard good things about it. Going to move them down just a little bit more. That should be good. And back to an edit poly. Good. Okay, let's jump out of isolation mode. I'm just going to move that back down here. I think with this one, what I'm going to do is I'm going to scale it up just a little bit. Let's try 102%. I just wanted to overhang this one by just a bit. Okay. We're going to do the same thing again. I'm going to grab the lower one and make a copy. Just hold down the Shift key and drag. We'll make it a bit thicker. Go back into isolation mode, and for this one I think we'll do a boolean with a box. So because you can never have too many booleans. Size wise, I think I might make it a little bit more narrow. And let's make some copies of this one. Hey Android Lust, good to see you. No problem, better late than never. It's good to see you, Android Lust. I hope you're well. Smurfberry says that stuff really gets me hot and bothered. What stuff are you talking about, Smurfberry? What stuff gets you hot and bothered? Just going to push those in a little bit. Smurfberry says, read up in the chat instead of reading it backwards. Oh, sorry, Smurfberry. I didn't even notice the second message there. Smurfberry says, and then of course there are the programs that are parametric CAD stuff like AutoCAD and Fusion 360 and others. My bad, Smurfberry. Full slap for me. Smurfberry says non-destructive booleans and extrusions and connections and fillets. Max's boolean tool is non-destructive as well if you don't collapse the stack, like you see me doing. Then you can go back to the individual operands of the boolean and remove them, change them. It can be non-destructive too. But once you collapse the stack, then that's it. They're gone. Because I know I'm not going to be making any changes, that's why I collapsed the stack. Going to remove one from this one. And copy it to the other side. I just want to make sure I get the depth of these about the same as well. The depth, by depth I mean how far they're cutting into the into this mesh. It doesn't have to be perfect because you never, when you render it out, even if you went right up close to it with your camera during your render, you're not going to notice. But try and make them about the same. Okay. Let's boolean these ones. Again, I'm just going to collapse the stack. So yes, you can do non-destructive boolean and max as well. Subtraction. Yeah, so this is all non-destructive. I could change them, change the operation or the operand from subtractive to union on each of those boxes, but once I collapse the stack, then it's gone. I'm going to do a chamfer on this. Wow, what a mess. What a mess. I was trying to do it by cheating, but I really can't. I'm going to have to go in and do the edge selection by hand. And you notice I didn't quantify this piece of the mesh. I didn't make it higher resolution before I did the Boolean, and that was because with this one the Booleans were just squares, rectangles. I didn't need the geometry. The other one that we were using cylinders, so we needed a higher resolution base mesh to get a nice clean cut. But with a rectangular box, we didn't need the high res mesh. So just thought I'd point that out in case people are wondering why I didn't high res or quantify this mesh. Wondering why I can't make my selections because I got the wrong thing selected. Can I loop this? Don't think I can loop a Boolean object, no. Android Lust says, I've never had good results with Boolean in Maya. I believe it would auto-triangulate the mesh and the wire would look too ugly for me. It can create some really weird looking geometry. Any Boolean, it can make some really weird geometry. It's not clean. But if the base mesh that you're going to make the Boolean on is high enough poly, then the chances are less of it creating a mess. That's why at the beginning when we did the other piece, I quantified the mesh to make it much higher polygon than this piece is, and that helped make sure we didn't create a mess of on our geometry. So the higher the base mesh, the less chance of problems with Booleans being cut out of them or added to them. But it really does depend on the shape that you're trying to cut out as well. So it depends on a couple of things. It depends on how high res the base mesh is and the shape you're trying to cut out. I'm going to do this. I'm going to select everything. It's easier and quicker. Let's do it the quickest way we can. I'm going to deselect the ones in the middle because I don't want those to be Booleans. Well, I don't want the corners to be, but I do want these edges to be. So I'm just going to reselect these. It's just quicker to do it this way. I don't want the inside edge either to be chamfered. So I do want that edge, and I do want that edge. Android Lust says, actually, I never thought of making a high poly mesh then using Boolean. I kind of just got into the habit of never using Boolean. Yeah, my suggestion, if you want to use Boolean and you want to try and keep as clean a mesh as you can, make sure the base mesh is high poly. You can always reduce the polys after you've done the Boolean. But just for the initial cuts, the higher the poly count on the base mesh, the cleaner the cut for the Boolean will be. But I love Booleans. Any time I can save modeling time by using a Boolean, I will. Just like I love using splines to create new shapes as well. Yep, love Booleans, love spline modeling. And I'm doing this so that we can chamfer up these edges because, like I always harp on, you guys don't have a hard edge. It's not natural. The real world objects don't have hard edges. Generally they don't. I'm not going to say never. But particularly stonework like this, you're never going to get a really 90-degree angle like that. It's really unnatural. Now, if you want to try and keep as low a poly as possible, you could use a high, you could bake out a high from a low, or a high poly to a low poly, and keep a hard edge in your mesh, but use the normal map to fake it being smooth. That, if it's a game model, but because again I'm creating this to be used in a render, like in a render engine like V-Ray or Octane or Arnold or Mental Ray, I'm not so concerned with the poly count so much. Just making sure I've got everything I need. Okay, I think I do. Okay, let's try this again. Actually, I was reading Autodesk are due to release a new version of 3D Studio Max soon-ish. It feels like not that long ago they released 2019. And they're introducing a new chamfer modifier, which is apparently amazing. According to the people that have been beta testing the new version of Max 2020, this new modifier is amazing. So I look forward to checking that out. But I'm using Quad Chamfer modifier here, which is a third-party modifier not made by Autodesk. It just gives a nicer result on the corners, the Quad Chamfer modifier as opposed to the straight chamfer modifier. But the reason I got onto that subject of the new chamfer modifier in Max is because the person testing it says it behaves a lot like this Quad Chamfer modifier does, which is a third-party one that I purchased to add it to Max. So it's pretty soon the built-in modifier in the new version of Max will behave much nicer and much more like Quad Chamfer. I'm just going to up the iterations to a few here so we get a nice smooth corner. Just going to pull back. We don't want quite that much. Just going to turn off edge faces so I can get a better look at those corners. It should be okay. I'm going to collapse that stack and I'm just going to do a auto smooth on the smoothing groups. Now, I'm not sure what's going on under there. I'm just going to go back. Could just be a shadow. It's to do with the chamfer modifier, but it might be just a shadow that's happening. I'm just going to go into black color. Yeah, it's just a shadow. So it's not like a poly's missing or a normal's inverted. It's just the way that the shadow's falling inside of Max. Okay, I'm going to. Actually, I'm not going to collapse the stack. I'm going to throw an edit poly on top and just make sure we do another auto smooth here. That's better. Okay, let's get out of sub-object mode. Now this one I'm going to scale in a little bit. Let's try 96. So let's try, just going to undo that. So let's go to 98. Move it down. Up. Just going to select a piece here so Max has something to lock onto. Alright, let's do this again. Let's select this piece here and duplicate it. Let's scale it up. This one I want to be quite thick. We've got to start capping it here. I'm just going to get rid of these cylinders because we don't need them. Okay, this one I do want to quantify the mesh, so I'm just going to go into sub-object. Let's quantify the mesh to 0.5. That'll do. Again, I'm going higher poly here because I want to use the scale tool, and I could have sliced the mesh. That was another way I could do this. We'll leave it the way it is for now. Let's throw down an edit poly. Now I'm going to select the top loop. And I'm going to turn on soft selection. Let's pull it back a little bit because it's a bit too high. I'm going to push it up until it gets to basically the white area down here. Soft selection is not affecting at all. The blue area here is where soft selection affects the least, and then the higher up we go, the more soft selection affects the mesh. So I'm going to scale this in. We're going to reduce soft selection even more. I'm going to turn soft selection off. I'm just flattening the top of that a little bit. Get rid of edge selection and go back out of sub-object mode. Okay, let's scale the whole thing down. I'm looking in the top viewport here just to decide how big I want this to be. Okay. I think what I need to do is, I think I might scale everything down a little bit. Just trying to decide if I want to scale it in as well. I do want to cap this piece though, so again I'm going to select that bit. Let's scale it up. Well, not scale it up, I just duplicated it. Wrong choice of words. I'm just going to scale it in a little bit now. Maybe a little bit more. I just wanted to cap the top of that, those cutouts there. Going to scale these down a little bit in the Z. Now I'm just looking at it to try and decide whether I like the thickness or if I need to bring it back a bit more. I think we might bring it back just a little bit more. I don't want to make it... the feature of this column is the statue, not so much the top. So I don't want to make the top stand out too much. I think that's better, just a bit narrower, more so our eyes are drawn up there, our eyes still drawn to the statue here. I did play with the thought of capping it with like I don't know what you call it, like an obelisk, like a plinth, an obelisk, just very plain. But again, I think if we do that, we're going to start drawing too much attention to the top, and we don't want that. We want the attention to be here. I'm going to remove these now. I kept them in case I mucked this up, but I don't need them now, so I'm just going to delete them. Now we did add some new photogrammetry pieces of the wall here, and they haven't been taken into ZBrush yet to clean them up. So we've got to do that, and we have to optimize this as well because we haven't optimized the geometry. So I think that's what we might do. I think I might just reduce this just a little bit more. Yeah, I think it's better. The other thing we could do is we could just add a sphere on top. That's really quick and easy. I'm going to do it to see if I like the look of it or not. And if I don't, we can remove it. So let's just make a sphere. I'm going to go to 128. So it's nice and round. Don't know. Probably okay without it. I don't think it actually needs it. Yeah, so let's bring these pieces into ZBrush so that we can clean them up a little bit. I'm just going to do a save here before we do that, because you never know. And again, they're really high poly. I think they're about 6 million polygons, so it makes a little while to save it out. That's why we're going to do some optimization. Okay, let's just add a plain texture to this wall section to begin with. That's just because we don't need the texture inside of ZBrush. We're only interested in cleaning up the geometry. And the texture will probably just get in the way. There we go. Alright, it's not too bad. So I think what I'm going to do with this one is we're going to use that trick that we looked at last week where we polish by features. Android Lust says, my internet is being an annoyance right now. Did you try the sphere on top? I did try the sphere. I can show you again when we jump back in. I can show you what the sphere looked like. I did put it there and then I removed it again. I said I didn't think it really needed it. It didn't look particularly bad. I just don't know if it really needs it or not, to be honest. So I'm just pulling up on this polish by features a little bit. So that's probably okay, I think. I could come in and just give it a bit of a polish by hand as well. Just pull back on these a little bit. Just going to do a couple of areas near the top here by hand. I don't want to, if I push up on that polish by features, we'll start losing some of the detail through the stonework here. So just doing a few bits and pieces here by hand. No big deal. It's not a huge piece of geometry. It should be good. Let's send it back. Again, I'm just waiting for Max to reload it. There we go. So we just smoothed it up a bit. I'm just going to reassign the texture. Now the question is, did I grab the texture before I actually... Yes, I did. Good. Okay, let's keep going to the back. Again, I'm just going to make sure I have that texture selected. I do, good. Oh yes, the sphere. Let's look at the sphere again, because it's really simple, quick and easy to add. Like I said, it didn't look too bad, but I don't know if it really needs it. So I just add a sphere and we'll pull it up and see what it looks like again. You could sit it just off of it, we'll sit it inside of it a bit. I don't really think it needs it, to be honest. Again, we're starting to draw the eye a bit too much to the top of the column and less to the statue, so... Just for you, Android Lust. Alright, let's send this back piece over to ZBrush. Hang on, I've got to make sure I assign a plain texture first. Okay, now that's interesting. It's sending over both pieces. I'm just trying to work out why it's doing that. Because we don't really want it to do that. I'm going to close ZBrush down. Make sure I don't have more than one object selected. No. Let's try that again. Let's send that over to ZBrush. So yeah, adding a sphere on top looked okay, but probably not necessary. But we'll make our final decision on the very top whether it needs anything once we get the pieces all together for the whole terrace. So once all of the other bits of geometry are in place for the terrace, then we can look at it and see if it needs something or not. It's doing it again. I don't know why it's doing that. That's really weird. It's sending over the side and the back. Why you do this, ZBrush? Why? Why indeed? Okay, I'm just again. You're working my last nerve, ZBrush. You really are. Okay, now it's centered just over as a single piece. Let's see how we go. Let's polish it up a little bit. Just make some corrections by hand. Yeah, let's try sending it back. No, I didn't think it. I don't think it sent it back. Or did it? Let's assign the texture. I can get a better look at it after I've assigned it the texture back. Okay. Let me... Yeah, what it's done... I think it sent the wrong one back. I'm just going to move this out of the way and have a look. Undo. Yeah, what it's done is instead of replacing the one that we sent to ZBrush via Gauze, it's brought back a new version because I turned it into a Polymesh 3D. So what we can do is we can just remove the other one. So we just have one more piece to send over. Android Dust says a sphere at the top of any column-like structure reminds me of the PlayStation Move controller. It does, doesn't it? It does look a bit that way. I use spheres. I use spheres quite a bit on columns because I do like the look of a sphere on top of a rectangular column. I think it always looks interesting. So you'll know that the last garden terrace, the very first stream I ever did on Twitch when I made the Baroque garden terrace, I use spheres in that. I do use spheres quite a bit. I do like the look of them. Something about the spherical shape on a rectangular column always looks interesting. Let's just create a new document here. See, it's doing the same thing again. So that's okay. I'm just going to create a new document to clear out what we have. I'm going to turn this into a Polymesh 3D. And now we've just got the one pieces again that we want. Let's just polish it up by features. And just do some polishing by hand. And send it back. Smurfberry says sphere on top equals radar dome. Well, of course, we have those big, we have that military base here in Australia, the American military base. What do they call it? Five Eyes or something? It's part of the Five Eyes network where they're those big domes, those radar, I don't know, they just look like domes sitting in the desert on this American military base, which is all part of that spy network. Those nasty, nasty spies. They're not spheres as such. They're sort of like, they're not even tetrahedron. Yeah, they're sort of like a sphere that's been really not completely round, angled. It's not like an octagon, but that sort of shape. Okay, Polymesh 2. I'm just going to assign the texture back to it. And we're going to get rid of the old one. I've noticed with Max, I don't know if it's a problem with Max 2018, which is a version I'm using. Even though Max 2019 is out now and I do have access to it, I don't bother installing it unless there's something I want to use in the new version and there's nothing in Max 2019 I want to use. But I have noticed that it does seem to lose its gamma correction for some reason. I turn gamma on all the time, gamma correction, but Max keeps turning it off. Now, I don't know why it's doing that. Really weird. I'm just thinking I might reduce this a little bit more still at the top. I still think it might be a bit thick. I just want to cap the top of this column off. I don't want to make a major feature out of it. I might just expand this one a little bit more. I think that's probably better. It's hard to tell until we texture it up properly as well. So we'll take the red bits into Substance Painter and into Mari and we'll texture them up. But for now, let's group all of this together so that we can move it without moving things unexpectedly. Alright, now I'm just going to let's look at our little urn here. Now, we know this urn is going to go in the middle of the pond, so I'm just going to place it there now, just temporarily, until we can work out exactly what we're doing inside the pond here. So we'll put it in the middle. Hey, Sniper Rico, good to see you, buddy. Pardon me. I hope you're well. Oh, see what I've done there? I haven't grabbed all the urn. So let me undo that. This is another reason why I should group this, so I don't accidentally just move parts of it, not the others. It's good to see you, Sniper. How's your deadline going? Is that all coming along okay, Sniper Echo? Hope you're not stressing. So yes, we're going to have an urn here in the middle of the pond. I want the urn to be just up, probably about level with the bottom of the rotunda there. And I was thinking, you guys know I use V-Ray. We use V-Ray at the studio to do ArchViz renders. So I have V-Ray installed here on my Mac's version. I use V-Ray quite a bit. But I've never really played with V-Ray's Phoenix physical particles. And I thought it might be a good learning experience for both you and me when we come to do the pond area, to actually use particles, use water. So we could have water coming out of these line mouths, going into the pond, because there's 4 mouths, one on each corner, 4 lines. So I thought it could be cool to have water sprout coming out of the lion's heads and into the pond area. And I thought we could use the V-Ray Phoenix particle system to do that. Like I said, I don't generally use particles in my work because in ArchViz we're not really concerned with particles. We don't generally use particles. We don't set off fire. We don't set off water. They're generally ArchViz renders. They don't need particles. But it interests me, and I thought it might be cool. Don't worry about being late, Sniper Echo. That's cool. You know, you're here. That's fine. I understand you guys have got lives. That's fine. A Sniper is a moderator, but that still doesn't matter. If you've got something that you got to do, then that's fine. It's never a problem. I'm glad you're here now. So yeah, I don't know. You guys might be interested in that. We can both learn along together. But when we come to do the pond area, I'm planning on using the V-Ray Phoenix particle system to create water. And probably what I'll do when I come to sell this model, you can convert the particle system into a mesh, which is what I'll do. You can even convert it into an Alembic animated mesh. So an Alembic file, which is an animated 3D file. So I can actually export the water as a mesh flowing out. I don't know if I'll do that. I may just export the water as a static mesh. So when people, if somebody purchases this model and wants to render it up, for a still render it'll be fine. If they want to do an animation, then they'd need the animated water. But if they wanted to do an animation, they probably would do it in their own 3D software with their own particle system. So I think it'll be good for people to buy the model that do want to do stills, just to have this water coming out of the fountain, out of the lion's heads. What was I going to say? Now I forgot what I was going to say. So yeah, you can export animated Alembic water or particles from Max that you create in Phoenix. I do know that. So yeah, I thought we would just do that. We'll just create some water. But what I'll do is when I put the model up for sale, I'll have the water meshes as separate objects so people can remove them if they don't want them and just use it as an urn. Just gives people more options when they buy your stuff if you sell anything online. The more options you give people, the more likely that they are to want to buy the model. They're not locked into one look, you know what I mean? So yeah, giving people more options is always a good thing if you're planning on selling your stuff online. Not just 3D models, that's any design that you do, that you sell, that you want to sell to many different types of people. Making it as modular or as changeable as possible will increase your sales. Sniper says it's coming along. These visual effects are killing you. Are you using that open source program that you showed, that you put into Discord, Sniper? I'm just curious. The Open V something or other, VD something, VD Open or Open VD, Open VD or something like that. Modular is best. He says yes, it is. Well, I'm just curious, what are you using for your visual effects, Sniper Echo? Because I know Sniper Echo uses Blender as his modeler of choice. I'm just going to move this back here out of the way. In fact, I'm just going to move them all a bit further back. These are our pieces we were working with. So yeah, we'll look at Phoenix soon when we come to actually add the water to the pond area. But we're going to make the rest of the terrace first. Sniper says working mostly in UE4. Oh, okay. Prototyping a lot of in Blender. Okay. But experimenting with OpenVDB. That's what I thought it was. Which looks very cool. Actually, when you posted the link in Discord, I did check it out then. It does look very cool. And I know that with the new version of Eon View, you can export and import OpenVDB assets. So that could be worth me looking into now that the new version of Eon View can use them. It could be something, because it looks very cool, very cool. It's something I've never come across before, that software, so I want to experiment with it too. I think it does look really cool. You guys should check it out. It's open source, I believe, and free, so. And you're in UE4. I miss you not working in UE4 now that we're doing other stuff. It was actually fun working in UE4. Putting our building together. Oh well. Got to make some other stuff. I'm going to duplicate this this column because my intention was always to have two with the stairs going in between them. And I'm just going to actually, before I do this, I'm going to remove that. We haven't done an optimization yet, so let's do that. Because these are still in the tens of millions, 6 million polys I think each, so we need to do some poly reduction. It's going to open up my group. I'll go into sub-object mode. I'm going to see how many polys this piece is. Selected object is 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, nearly 10 million polygons. Too high. Too high. So let's reduce that a bit. Again, we're going to use the Pro Optimizer. Modifier built into Max. We're going to keep the textures and we're going to merge the verts. Now, it will take it a little while to calculate this because it's a 10 million polygon object here. Let's calculate and wait for Max. So I'm glad it's coming along those Sniper Echo. Because you're trying to do sandstorms and things, aren't you, in UE4 for the project you're working on? And the particle system will be the way to go. Yeah, I do. I miss not working in UE4. It was fun. It's because the engine is so lovely to use. It's from an artist's point of view. After using some real dog game engines in the past in my career, UE4's engine is really nice. Nice artist tools. It's one of the things that UE4 does really well. And the lighting, actually, the lighting engine is really nice in the game engine too. Waiting. Even with my PC, it still takes Max a long time to calculate. Sniper says, yeah, it's amazing, cool stuff. I just never did that sort of thing before. Yeah, again, the same with me. I've never been a particle effects artist, but I've always been interested in particles and effects. It's something I want to learn more about as well, look into more, because you can use it in all sorts of different things. Particle effects, not just in a 3D level or a game engine. You can take those particle effects and you can incorporate them then into 2D image work that you do, or logo design, or headline sort of stuff. They can be used in a lot of different ways. So I'm keen to look into using particles more too. I want to look at this Phoenix as part of V-Ray, part of the Chaos Group software, because it does look very cool. I did look at a couple of tutorials over the weekend, and it does look really cool. And I do want to look at it for view as well, Eon View. Come on, Max. What I really wish Autodesk would do with Max, with some of its modifiers here, because you can see it's calculating away here, is add some sort of indicator bar along the bottom. When I created a plugin for Max that you can download from my website for free, that takes plants that you made in SpeedTree and converts them to plants for Eon View. But when I created that plugin, I created a progress bar basically down the bottom here. As the plugin works away, the progress bar moves up. It's not hard to do, Autodesk. I wish Autodesk would incorporate something like that for some of its modifiers, so that you know in the progress bar how far along it is at working out before it gets finished. Not just this blue spinning circle. It's, it doesn't tell me anything. Is it going to take another 30 seconds? Is it going to take another 5 minutes? How long is it going to take, Autodesk? Give me a progress bar. Indicator would be really good. I agree. It would be amazingly good. I don't know why they don't do it. It's not hard. You assume there was a progress bar? Yeah, no, there's not. I wish there was, Android Lust. There is no progress bar. You just got to wait for however long it takes Max. The other thing that's really weird too is you see how up here, I don't know if you can read it, or you probably can't, but because I have it cut off here on my stream, but the title bar says not responding. Now that doesn't mean that Max has crashed. It just means that Max is working its little brain the hardest it can to work this optimization out. So the program won't respond to any other clicks. But people seeing that might think, oh wow, I've got a blue spinning circle. My title bar up here says not responding. Max has crashed. It hasn't crashed. Which is why we need this progress bar to tell people it hasn't crashed. I knew this would take a while because, it's a 10 million poly piece of geometry here. We did save it beforehand, so if it does crash, we're not losing any work. There is another plugin you can add to Max and Maya and I think even Cinema 4D actually, called MooTools, which is another polygon optimization plugin. You pay for it, unfortunately. I haven't used it before. I don't have it in this version of Max, and it is much faster. Max's optimization tool is probably the slowest I've used. It does a good job, gets the job done, and it comes with Max, so it's free. But MooTools, Polygon Cruncher, I believe they call it, is faster and does a good job too. but you got to buy it. So we'll just wait. So what we have to do is, once we've finished doing the optimization on these pieces of wall, then we have to start playing with shapes inside of 3D Studio Max to get a nice design for our terrace and rotunda. I think while it's doing that, I might just jump into ZBrush and close it down because I don't need ZBrush open anymore. Anything else I need to do that I could be doing while Max is thinking? No, I don't need to do anything in Photoshop. I did remake my logo. You know how I've got my little egg bot? Android Dust says you have the patience of a saint. I would have closed it and tried it while I'm away from the computer. Well, I can't walk away while I'm streaming. It'd be very boring for you guys to look at an empty chair. I'd probably go and make lunch while it was doing this, so Android Lost. I knew it would take a while. I didn't think it would take it this long, particularly with my PC. It's a 12-thread CPU, so it should be getting through it more quickly, but hey. You've got to have patience in anything to do with design on a computer, I find. Everything takes a lot of time, a lot of patience. Oh yes, I remade my little egg bot logo. You know, my little egg that you see there on screen with the music playing beside it, or when he flies in to do my ads for Twitter and shit. I remade that egg bot because I made that logo about 10 years ago, and I can't find it on any of my hard drives anymore, the original. I looked everywhere. You know, on PCs I've got in storage, hard drives I've got in PCs in storage that I don't use anymore, and I can't find it anywhere, so I think I've deleted it. So I had to remake it. So I did that over the weekend. It took a day. Didn't take very long. It's a simple little model. So yeah, I just thought I'd mention I've remade the logo, which is not the version you're seeing there on screen with the music playing beside it. It's if you go to my Twitter, the new one's on the Twitter page. And also the offline screen on my Twitch page, that has the new logo as well. Trust me, it has not crashed. This is just how long it takes Pro Optimizer. Just trying to think if there's another optimization tool I could use. Probably not. Put it in the Discord? Yeah, actually I will. I'll do that. I'll put the image of the new logo in the Discord. Under the gallery. Good idea, Smokery Barbecue. Updated logo. Okay, let me find it. It's very similar to the old one. I didn't want to change the logo too much. I just wanted a new version of it though that I could use if I wanted to make any alterations. Like if I want to do, I don't know, something different with that little bot that you see flying on screen there. If I want to animate him some different way, then I needed the original file, so that's why I actually redid it. And there's the new logo I've just popped into Discord. So yeah, it allows me to render it out at different resolutions as well, because I don't have the original 3D model anymore, I have to work with the images I saved out that I still did have, thankfully. And they're not very big, they're only like 1280 by 720 pixels. So I needed a way to I needed a way to render out larger versions of the logo. So that's why I rebuilt it. So I could render out larger versions at a higher DPI, and I could reanimate it in different ways if I wanted to. It's rendered using V-Ray, and I created materials, V-Ray materials to add to the little bot. I think the original, the dome at the top, the little black dome you see at the top, was like a black plastic, and when I re-rendered it with like a titanium metal. The new version has like a greyish titanium type metal, not the black plastic you see on screen there beside the music playing. And I changed the colour of the glowing lights in his chest and the little jets at the side. I just made them a little bit more of a teal and less of a blue. Wow, she's taken forever. If I'd known it was going to take this long, I would have done it off stream. In fact, while we're waiting, let's just check if the new logo out on stream. It looks angrier. Yeah, I guess it does look a bit angrier. Or more aggressive, you should say. Even Photoshop's taking a long time to load because Max is sucking up all my CPU cycles here in the background. Robo logo, Robo logo, Robo logo, Robo logo. That's the new logo. So yeah, I did like a titanium steel for the top and changed the metallic paint a little bit as well. Sniper says, well, with the amount of bill slaps I've been getting, I can't believe it. What, do you want a bill slap? So yeah, while we're waiting, I just thought I'd show you the new logo. I think it's still calculating. Yep. Max, you're so slow, so slow. Again, what the plugin is doing, what Max is doing at the moment, the modifier is actually going over the entire mesh to work out exactly what areas it can optimize and which ones it can't, which is why it's taking forever, because there's a lot of detail in this statue here at the front. I should have started with the sidewalls, they're much plainer. So once it's done its calculation, when I make the adjustments here as to how much I want it to reduce the poly count by, it does it immediately because it's already worked out all the steps. But that's why it takes it so long initially to actually calculate all those steps. Although I don't ever recall it taking this long. And I know I did say I was going to remake the logo on stream, or I thought about doing it on stream, but I knew I wanted to do it over the weekend, and I don't stream on the weekend, so I thought I'd just do it. It's nothing dramatic. It's a very simple little egg bot model. Maybe if I want to reanimate it to do something different, then I might stream that. Android Lost says, be right back in 5. Hopefully it didn't crash though, no problem. Yeah, well, you know, anything is possible. Normally it doesn't crash. I don't think I've ever had the optimization modifier crash. But it is taking it an awfully long time. Did it always say merging birds here? I can't remember if that updates as it's working or not. Wasn't paying close enough attention. If you have a really large model that is taking a long time to do an optimization on, what you can do too is you can break the model up into pieces and optimize each piece. Probably not ideal doing it that way because you could end up with some holes in your mesh. Better to try and do it all at once. I've been melting here, guys. I want to go. I hate summer in Australia. It is just terrible. We're going through a bit of a heat wave here in Australia at the moment, so we've got like above 40-degree temperatures for the next. Well, we've had them for the last 2 days, and they're going to continue until Saturday. So, yeah, horrible heat wave in Melbourne. Well, in all of Australia, most of Lower Australia anyway. Some parts of the interior have got up to 50 degrees already in places in towns that it doesn't normally get quite that hot. So yeah, it's really horrible. Horrible. Thank God for air conditioning, that's all I can say. I hate the heat. Yeah, it is a terrible, terrible smokeberry. And it's not so much the daytime temperatures. You know, when it gets to 45 degrees Celsius during the day, as long as I'm in air conditioning, it's not a problem. But it's at night when you're trying to sleep and it doesn't get any lower than like 30 degrees. I hate when I can't sleep at night because it's too hot. I never get a good night's sleep and then I'm cranky and it's not good. That's summer in Australia, I guess. You know, be prepared if you're a tourist and you come over here during summer, you're gonna melt. It's incredibly hot. Snowbreaker says, yeah, that's why you're cranky. I'm not cranky. How dare you? You get a full slap for that. I am not cranky. No, I'm not cranky. Come on, Max. Come on. I can't remember if it said that to begin with or if it, well, that does change depending on what stage it's at, but I can't remember what stages it's gone through, if any, to get to that, to try and work out how long it's going to take, how much longer it's going to take. Such an interesting Twitch stream to watch. Should I cancel it? Should I three finger the keyboard and stop it? Reload the program? What do you think, guys? I think I might. I think we might do that. And I'll try and do the calculation off stream. So I'm going to end max. There we go. Kill it with fire. Yeah, I agree. Now let's restart max. You get the idea. You know how to use the Pro Optimize tool in Max. I've shown you before. I'll do it off stream when I'm making lunch. I'll set it up. After the stream when I have lunch, then I'll get it to do its optimization properly. We will just reload the file up. Come on, Max. We did save it, didn't we? Please tell me we saved it. I'll be incredibly annoyed if we did not save it. I think we saved it. I hope we saved it. If we didn't, we can just remake it. No, we saved it. Good. Thank God. Yes, let's just, we didn't save it after we'd moved our stuff around, so let's just do that. Just going to regroup this, move it back into the underside of the rotunda. No, I want the move tool. Lift it up so it's in line with the base of the rotunda. Good. We're going to move this one back. Good. Let's get all this and move it further back. Good. Do a quick save again. Again, it's even taking Max a long time to save because of the high poly counts here. It's going to block you for now. All right. Okay. Should we attempt to do an optimization maybe on one of these side pieces that isn't maybe quite as high poly? How high poly are these? No, they're still pretty high. Oh no, 705, about 700,000 polys, these side wall pieces. Should we attempt it? Should we attempt it? I'm just going to look at the optimize tool here. This is the old version of the tool. Optimize, Pro Optimize is the newer one. What else is there to do? No, we've got other stuff we've got to do. We've got to create an interesting shape for the base of the terrace. We've got to put stairs in. We've got to put more railings in. We do have other stuff we can do. Actually, I don't think with this version you can actually keep the texture. No, you can't. So the old optimize tool, you will lose the texture, I believe. I'm tempted. Well, I'm not going to merge the faces though. I'm going to get it to do a calculation without merging faces, or verts, merging verts I should say. Let's see if that calculates up a bit more quickly. That's true, I could always bake the texture out. But Pro Optimizer is a better optimization tool to use than Optimize because it's newer. Now you see how quickly that calculated up? Because I didn't merge the verts. Let's see if that's going to cause a problem though when we try and reduce the poly count. So let's go to 10%. 10% is still fine. I'm just going to turn on isolation mode and go into edge spaces so we can see our mesh. Now let's drop it back to 5%. Let's drop it back to 2%. And I think 2% is probably going to be okay. I'm just going to turn it on and off and we can compare. So that's on, that's off, on, off. We're losing some shadow detail here in the stonework. So I think I'm going to pull it up a bit more. Let's go back up to 5. I might pull it back up to 10. 10 is probably better, I think. We're not losing as much detail. But that means we've taken it from 700,000 polys to about 70,000 polys, which is okay. We'll collapse that. Just going to turn it back into a mesh because it automatically turns it back into a poly because it turns it into a mesh when you use the optimization tool. Let us continue around. Pro Optimizer. Keep textures. Not merging vertices though. Just going to go into isolation mode and do a calculation. I know from the other one 10% was good, so 10% here will probably be good as well. And 10% is fine. Let's do the other side. Yeah, it does sort of tell you here what it's doing while it's doing it. Take it back to 10%. Collapse the stack. Change it back to a poly. Come on, Max. Okay, I'm just going to do a quick save here. I mean, we might attempt this front one again, but I won't merge the verts. So I'm just going to save it. I should have saved it as an incremental because we did some optimization. Doesn't matter. Because it is this one that I really do need to optimize. It's the one that's slowing Max down. So we've done a save just in case. We're going to do the Pro Optimize, but we're not going to merge the verts. Okay, it's computing optimization. We can see in this little box here, it doesn't have a progress bar, but at least it does sort of tell us what stage it's up to. Smokeberry says, "Get the price is right. Get the price is right. Mountaineer music." Again, I can't hear my music playing in the background. What's playing at the moment? 100 Days of Gravity. Drift. And I'm not familiar with that piece of music though. Smokeberry. Price is Right. Mountaineer music. So if it takes too long, we'll 3-finger salute the keyboard and stop the task and reload it again. And I'll do this off stream. I'm just hoping, because we're not merging the vertices, it won't take quite so long. But again, 10 million polygons, it has got a lot to work with, this piece of mesh. I think we actually got towards the end. I just wasn't patient enough because it got up to the merging vertices stage, which I believe is the very last stage it gets to before it's finished. So yes, I have to put steps in. I have to come up with a design for the terrace that the rotunda sits on. So we have to work out a design for the terrace. I want to put steps between these two columns with statues on them. Decide whether I decide how many stairwells I want. Yeah, it's finished now. It's the merging vertices stage that took forever. So let's do an optimization here. So we're going to go from 10 mil. Let's take it from 100. Let's do 10% and see how that affects the detail in the statue. Just going to turn it off, turn it on. Not really seeing any change at all. I'm just going to turn on edged faces so we can see. So that's it off. Oh yes, it is. It's removing a lot of polys, and that's it on. So that's taken it from 10 million polygons to about 930,000. We're not losing any detail that I can see. We're not getting any texture stretching happening. It should be okay. Let's collapse the stack. Convert it back to a poly. And unhide it. Let's save it as, but do an incremental save this time, which is what I should have done last time. So revision 5. And you see it saves out much more quickly too, because I've taken away a lot of polys. So let's regroup this so we can move it around. It didn't finish Android Lust. No, we just finished then. We 3-fingered saluted the keyboard to task kill it the first time. I think we just weren't patient quite enough. If we waited a little bit longer, it probably would have worked. And we just redid it then, but we didn't use merge vertices. So, and that seemed, it's the merging of the verts that slows it right down. Sniper says, any reason a 1.5 million mesh would make Max or Blender lag badly? Generally it doesn't. Before I did the optimization, that front mesh here, that was 10 million polygons. It wasn't lagging Max in the viewport. I could still rotate and stuff without a problem. It lagged Max in the modifier to reduce it, but 10 million polys, Max can handle that pretty well. Saving the file takes it longer the more polys there are, because the bigger the file will be. I've noticed with Max it takes it longer to save the file out, the higher the polygon count. The bigger the file will be. Generally though, Max can handle millions of polys pretty well. The new Nitrous viewport is pretty good at Max. Sniper says, I have a 26 million poly mesh and have it running without any issue. Yeah, no, generally Max is fine as well. The issue we had wasn't with the number of polys in the viewport. It was that modifier crunching the polygons down, and crunching the vertices down. That took a long time. But Max can manipulate through about millions of polygons without a problem. The reason I'm doing poly reduction is mainly just for memory reasons more than anything else, because when I render these out in view, if I don't need 10 million polygons, well then why use the extra memory if you don't need it? You know what I mean? That's why I'm reducing the poly count. I'm also reducing it because I want to sell this model online, and a 10 million polygon model that doesn't need it is just going to increase the file size for people to download. So that's the other reason I'm reducing it. Sniper says, I can't understand it. This one asset kills anything it is opened in. Oh, you're talking about you have a 26 million poly mesh and it's running without any issues, and you've got a 1.5 million mesh that Max is lagging Blender. I don't understand that either. I don't know why a 1.5 million poly mesh would lag over, and when a 26 million poly mesh doesn't. Unless it's got something to do with the way it's being lit inside of the viewport, inside of Blender. Maybe you've got double polygons or something, you know what I mean? A stacked polys or something. It's having a problem, an issue with lighting it or something. Maybe. Smooper says maybe the 1.5 million mesh has a bunch of faces or faces with zero surface area. Yeah, something like that. That's what my guess would be too, Smurfberry. The mesh is either has overlapping polys or something, some problem within the mesh itself that's causing an issue with the 3D program when you're moving it around in the viewport. It's trying to light it and it's giving it an issue or something. It's the only thing I could think of. Whereas maybe the 26 million poly mesh is nice, and it's either it's an airtight mesh, it's enclosed completely, there are no open edges or anything. It's the only thing I can think of. Sniper says, yeah, the problem is when I go to edit the mesh, it just hangs. Well, that can be a problem if you can't even edit the mesh to fix whatever the problem that's causing the problem. It's sort of like a catch-22. I know, and I understand what you're saying. So it's a problem mesh that you can't fix because when you try and fix it, it lags too much. The only other thing I could suggest is maybe try saving the model out as a different file format. So save it out as an OBJ file, or resave it out as an FBX file, or whatever, just another file version, and try re-importing it again inside of Blender. That's worked for me in the past when I've had meshes that have got a problem. Export the mesh as an OBJ or an FBX, then re-import the model back into Blender and see if that fixes the problem. Because re-exporting the mesh can sometimes fix problems within the mesh. Like I noticed with Max here, if you export an OBJ, it'll tell you if you have what they call a rat's nest inside of your mesh. And a rat's nest is just, I think, vertices that are orphaned and too many verts for the model. So sometimes that can fix it. Sniper says, I tried OBJ and FBX in Max and Blender, it's the exact same result. Oh no. When you export the model as an OBJ inside of Max or Blender, do you get any warnings? Does it, like if there's a problem mesh, like I said, it will come up with a warning saying, if you're exporting as an OBJ, a warning will pop up saying rat's nest in mesh, or it'll give you a whole series of different warnings if there's problems. Do you get anything like that when you export it as an OBJ? Give it another go, Sniper, that's what I would recommend. Yeah, and see if it is the lighting. Maybe there's some problem with the lighting. But if you're exporting it as an OBJ, at least from Max, when you export it, a dialog box will come up saying if you've got problems with the mesh. I think it even does it for FBX as well, but I know it does it with OBJ. Did we group this? I think we did. Let me just ungroup it in case I can't remember whether I grouped it or not. Let's group it. Okay, now we're grouped. Alrighty, so we need, now that we've optimized everything, we've reduced the poly count, we've cleaned up the mesh in ZBrush, we can duplicate it. So I'm just going to hold down the Shift key and create another copy. Okay. And now we're going to move these two so that they're sort of in the middle of our rotunda here in the background. I'm just going to do this in one of the side views. And we have to work out how wide we want our stairs between the columns as well. So this is where I've got to start thinking about what design I want to come up with. I think I want to be able to see the fountain between the stairs. If you're walking up the steps, I want to be able to see the fountain. So that's okay. I'm just going to move these off to the side because we need to rotate our rotunda. It's not, what do we? I was going to say we could rotate the rotunda so that the fountain was right in the middle, evenly in the middle between these. But I'm just wondering if it's more interesting for it to be a little bit off-center and not completely rotated. It could look more interesting in the render. Well, let's try both. Let's select everything. It's going to deselect the urn. So Sniper says, I don't get any warnings at all, just got a friend to open it in Max also, and it's the same for him. Must be a problem somewhere in the mesh. There must be. It's strange you're not getting any warnings though, but it has to be a problem in the mesh. Smurfberry says, slap it in Google Drive and I can take a look at it. Sniper says, I wish I could, but I don't own the asset. Yeah, don't go giving away other people's assets. Although I'm sure you could trust Smurfberry Barbecue. Yeah, the same goes for me too. If you want me to check it out, let me know, Sniper Echo. I can try loading it up too. I'm going to turn off angle snap here, but I understand if you can't or you don't want to. So yeah, we can either make it so we're looking directly at the rotunda and the double columns are pretty much behind each other, or we can have it off center so it's more like that, which could look a bit busy. Sniper says, Smurfberry says, Mudbox has nice screechy warnings when you import a mesh with issues. It does. I noticed that myself. If there's anything wrong with the mesh in Mudbox when you import the model, it's going to scream. It's going to bitch and bitch and bitch. I did notice that myself, Smurfberry Barbecue, when I was working with Mudbox. If the mesh is not perfect, Mudbox won't like it, and it will tell you. Smurfberry says it even will highlight them with angry red blotches on the mesh where there are problems, where the problems are. That's the other thing, actually, Sniper Echo. Load the Max. If you or somebody can load the model in Max, do an STL check on it. Here, there's a modifier called STL check. That will check the model for problems or errors or overlapping polys, open edges, all that sort of stuff. Throw that modifier on it and see whether it highlights anything or tells you anything. Which is similar to what Smurper is talking about in Mudbox, with it telling you with red blotches where the problems are. Yeah, so do check out the STL check modifier, because that will tell you what problems there are with the mesh, and you can go from there. At least if you may have a better idea of the problem, you can have a better idea of how to fix it. Yeah, I think with these side ones, I don't want it all center like that because that's way too busy. It just looks like it's a terrace-mated column. It's a rotunda-mated columns. We could have it slightly off-center like that. No, I think what we'll do is we'll have it like that. I think that's best for the side view. It's going to look different from the front or from the camera perspective views anyway. But this is just for the side view when we're looking up at the steps, if we ever want to take a render from that angle. Android Lost says, yeah, I forgot Mudbox will highlight the error spots. Yeah. Smurfberry says, does the mesh have UVs? UVs, though, I wouldn't have thought would cause a problem with the viewport, though. I mean, you could be right, Smurfberry. It might cause a problem. Okay, so let's move our columns into place. Got to work out how wide we want the steps here to be. And that's basically that will be determined by the design of the terrace itself. So we can make those small adjustments later. I just want to try and get an idea of how many steps I want. Do I just want steps on either side, or do I want steps on all four sides? And I'm thinking just either side at this stage. I think all four will start to lose the rotunda itself if we have stuff in front of it, at the front and the back. You don't see anything wrong? Sniper says, I'll try what you guys suggested and let you know on stream. Yeah, do that. Let us know tomorrow. So I think just 2 and 2. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to duplicate these two again. I'm just going to rotate them 180 degrees rather. And let's just move it out a little bit. So I'm just going to move these over out of the way. We can fine tune the positioning for all this stuff once we get the base in. So at this stage I'm thinking steps here leading up to the terrace. The terrace will actually be raised a little bit. So the rotunda will have to come up. And I think I'll raise it up to about the level of where the bottom of the statue is here. So yeah, steps coming up either side, and then we've got to come up with a design or a shape for the actual terrace itself that the rotunda sits on. So that's the plan. And then we can work out how close or how far we want the steps from the rotunda itself and how wide we want the steps between the two statues. Just get everything lined up and do a quick save. But I think we might leave it there for today, guys and girls. I do want to thank you though very much for hanging out with me and for watching. I'll be back on tomorrow, and tomorrow what we'll do is we'll start playing with shapes for the actual terrace itself that sits underneath of the rotunda. So we'll come up with something interesting. We'll put the steps in, and then we'll put the railings in, and then we can start thinking about jumping into Mari to start doing some texturing and substance painter. But tomorrow we will look at creating an interesting shape for the actual terrace and putting the steps and stuff in, I think. Yep, you guys and girls though, thank you very much, like I said, for hanging out and being here and watching. I'll be back on again tomorrow. We'll pick up where we left off here. You guys and girls have a great night, and hopefully I'll see you tomorrow. See you guys.